YouTube channel. I'm Kat Spangler, owner of Eat and Run Fitness. Thanks so much for joining me again. So as I mentioned before in my last video, I'm going to be taking today to describe to you my sort of transition from having a borderline eating disorder in high school to having a really well-balanced, good relationship with food now. Growing up, I grew up in a really healthy, health-conscious family. My mom would always tell me about the health benefits of different foods that we would have. She would cook all of our dinners for us. She would make me my lunches going to school. You know, my sisters are both personal trainers. My brother is now a healthy chef. My other brother was always the MVP. So I grew up in a family where health was very much paramount in our household. And I remember I would hear my mom and my sister talking about their weight loss strategies. They would be talking about the newest diet that they were on, or the newest fitness plan that they were on, and what was working and what wasn't. And you know, my sister was 10 years older than me, so we were in very different places in our lives, but I remember looking up to her and wanting to be part of that conversation and wanting to fit in with them, with the women of my family. So I started being kind of aware of what I was eating and you know, my fitness journey at a really pretty young age. And for me, I was always very much a type A, I still am, type A perfectionist. So I really kind of translated that sort of personality into my eating. When I was in high school, during the day, all throughout the day, I would eat beautifully. I would be very impressive to anybody who would look at my diet choices throughout the day. And I liked eating like that. It gave me energy. It felt mature to me to eat that way. But then when everybody else would go to bed, I would go to the cupboard and I would grab everything. I would grab cookies and pretzels and chips and ice cream, anything that we had, and I would bring it into my bed and I would spread it all out on my bed and I would watch Friends episodes and I would just eat. And it was a very secretive sort of thing. I didn't want anybody to know that I had this weakness about me, that you know I couldn't keep on eating clean the entire day. I had to have this secret. And I remember even, man, if it was something like a candy, if there was candy wrappers, when I would go to put the candy wrapper in the trash, I would kind of hide it under other trash because I was so ashamed about not being perfect. Hindsight's 20/20. Hindsight, I realized that I was very much on top of the whole perfectionist thing. I wanted control over my life. And it's not to say my parents were not controlling. I didn't have a ton of rules. It wasn't anything like that, but it was just the idea that I was in my parents' house. I was still under their rule technically. And there was something about that lack of control that I think I translated into my diet choices. So for me, part of it was, you know, when I was younger, I would read self-help books all the time. So I was always reading about, you know, how to get more confidence. So there was definitely a piece of that helped me kind of get out of that, I think, faster than I would have if I had not read those kinds of books. And my mom was always very big on teaching me, you know, healthy mindset about your body and all those different things. And then what really helped, honestly, is there came a moment where I just broke down all of my walls of what I should be like. I moved out of my house and I moved in with a boyfriend that the parents were not super thrilled with, and so that was kind of me cutting ties with that whole like being the perfect daughter, being the perfect person imagery that I had set for myself. And then getting into college and living on my own, you know, I had complete control over my life. I could do what I wanted to do. I didn't have any parents watching over me, and that really kind of translated into me not having these weird binging episodes at night where I was able to just be. And sophomore year, I had always kind of carried a little bit of excess pudge, and it just fell off because I was no longer obsessing about the things that I was eating. I wasn't trying to be super overly perfectly clean, but I also wouldn't stop myself from having a cookie or a piece of chocolate or, you know, an ice cream here or there. And it was finding that ability to break free of perfectionism that allowed me to kind of find my place with my health and with my food. And that's translated to where I am now, where yes, I eat clean. Yes, it is important to me. And I'll get a little bit more into what my diet is like now in my next video when I talk about how I dealt with my Hashimoto's. But just talking about mindset and healthy mindset around food, I think it's really important to find out what the underlying driving force is behind your food choices. So what I want you guys to do and to take away from this is think about the why. Think about the reasons behind any kind of possible disorder type eating that you have going on in your life. And it could be something small. It could be, I tend to snack at night while I'm watching TV and don't feel like I have a lot of control over it. Anything small like that is fine. But think about the why. Is it a comfort thing? Is it a control thing? Is it a perfectionist thing? Is it a family thing? Is it a fitting in culturally thing? There's so many different reasons for why we do what we do. Food is a very loaded topic. And so a lot of times we think, oh, it's just a matter of picking the salad over the fried chicken. Well, no, there's a lot of sort of psychology behind why we do what we do. And the first sort of step in addressing that is thinking about why we're making the choices that we're making. So once you figure out your why, and you can do that just by meditating, by journaling, by talking to somebody, you have to make the decision if that why is reason enough for you to be unhealthy. And see if there is not a middle ground for you. So it's not to say that, once you find your why and you decide it's not worth being unhealthy over, you can never have, your family's pasta night again. That's not that. But find where the middle ground is. Can you make the portions smaller? Can you clean up the recipe a little bit? I know it feels blasphemous to change a family recipe, but maybe just little tweaks. Maybe using, coconut oil instead of canola oil, or, anything with trans fat in it. Use healthier oils. Pick organic instead of conventional. Any kind of ways that you can sort of manipulate it where you don't feel like you're completely and utterly discarding something that brings you joy in your life. I'm not saying that at all. There's room for fun foods in your life without turning it into this is just reason for me to go crazy. It's not. There's no reason to go crazy. Eat what you want to eat, but do it in moderation, and try to eat clean 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time don't really worry about it. Or I switch that ratio to 90-10 if you're trying to actually actively lose weight. And that is where you're going to find balance. That's where you're going to find sustainability. That's where you're going to really hit your goals in a way that lasts for a really long time. So make sure to leave comments for me. Email me if you want to, eatandrunfitness@gmail.com. Tell me what you're struggling with food. Tell me what your why is. Tell me what strategies you're going to employ and get creative with it. I want to hear about your journeys, and make sure to ask me questions. What do you want me to talk about in future videos? Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Eat and Run Fitness. Thank you so much for listening as always, and join me next time. I'll be talking about my journey with Hashimoto's.
Take 2, pick up to the back half.
Can you make the... I'm brain tired. Comments. Ask to add my... You make sure to ask to add...
Cool, take it back to take it back to the same